you know, the cheaper wax, but they make the Christmas, you know, snowman, and it's been so hot in the attic that that paraffin wax just actually melts. You know, so there's a lot of damage that can, because when heat, not to mention, if you've got all that heat in the attic, I mean, obviously that's the summertime.
Talking about all the video
And
stuff.
if you're
Got all these new toys.
trying to air condition your house,
Yeah, man.
go ahead.
I don't know what the hell to do. I had to figure it out.
They do something cool.
That's all right. Well, that's what I was told.
Right.
If you're trying to air
Oh,
condition
so
the house, it's
somebody
gonna make it much more difficult.
Right.
Okay? And you go into somebody's house and you ask them
Right.
if they're not properly vetted, oh, do you air condition? Yes, I do. What kind of bills do you see?
That's
"Oh,
the best kind of money
So
to
on
spend.
a hot
right?
day, when it's like 95 degrees out,
Yeah, right.
does your
All right, I'll be back in a little bit.
air conditioner just continue to run?
So that means they'll fucking put
Run,
one right on top
and
of
run,
it and get back
and
here.
run?
Yeah, no, I got you on
Oh,
that.
all day long. Okay. Geez, no wonder your heat bills are so high, your air conditioning costs are so high. So, putting on a ridge vent can actually benefit the customer and help them save money. Wow, we're putting a roof on it, we're saving you money. Okay? Not to mention, lowering your cooling costs, but having that appliance not turn, if it's turning on and off 30 times a day, each time it turns on and off, it's getting closer to failing, right? So if I can cut that number down to 5 or 6 instead of 30, we've also added longevity to your system. Okay, so there's a variety of ways to, you know, talk about, you know, the proper ventilation and how it's gonna help your house. Moisture. This comes in a variety of forms, okay? First of all, as studies have shown that a family of 4 with a dog and some plants in the house and everything will emit up to anywhere from 2 to 4 gallons a day into the attic, okay, in the form of moisture. The moisture actually is so thin it can actually permeate into the attic space, and then typically where that's most where it's more damaging is in the wintertime, because now that moisture is going in there. What does it do? It freezes, right? Because it's moisture. And typically what it does is it condensates around nail heads or any cold extremity in the attic space. Okay, I've literally been in a guy's house before where the condensation in his attic was so bad that I went out there on a day where it was warming up and the temperatures were obviously above freezing. And I walked in the guy's house and it sounded like it was raining, because you could hear drip, 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 and he's like, over here too, drip, drip, drip. So I go in the attic, he's got all this fucking ice built up on the underneath side of his deck, you know, and it's literally all melting. So it was fucking raining in the guy's attic. I mean, literally. But he had this big fucking hip roof, and all he had on top was a couple of the can vents. The 750, you know, these right here. That's all they had were a couple of these up there. You know. So it wasn't so much that he didn't have the intake all the way around. He needed baffles too, because they put the insulation in, and basically if you've got the eave and you've got the vent down here, and they take the insulation and just block that off, it's not doing anything. It's not breathing, and that's why you got to put a baffle in. Are you familiar with the baffles?
Yeah.
Okay. I forget if you say you got a license, you're a licensed builder, and how much you actually know or don't know. But anyway, the moisture in the wintertime can build up. We admit it through our, like I said, a family of 4 and a dog and plants, because the plants give it off. Okay, that's oxygen. We breathe oxygen, and that mixes with the air. And, you know, that's a form of moisture. The as far as people go, when you start adding, we're taking showers. Okay, mom's making some spaghetti, right? All that stuff, it all makes its way into the attic, and it's very. It can also get into those water droplets. Can also get into your insulation. Okay, insulation, right? The fluffier, the better.
Yep.
So if you start plugging all those areas with moisture, what happens to your R value? It's like taking that insulation and just compacting it down and making it useless.
Right.
Okay, so you can actually What's up, brother?
Not too much, man. How you doing today?
Not too bad. Jason, this is Matt.
Pleasure to meet you.
Whenever you can get all his shit hooked up.
I think I have his email already set. I just have to get him an iPad and everything.
Okay,
I'll do that tomorrow.
that's fine.
Yeah.
No biggie. So, not only can you save in the summertime with your air conditioning costs, but it also helps in the wintertime by eliminating all that moisture that's in the attic that can fill those spaces of the insulation. Not to mention it eliminates the condensation, which, eventually will turn to water and come back into your attic space. So just by properly ventilating the house, yeah, folks, it's gonna cost you $1,800 to do this, but guess what? Over a 5-year time frame, it's gonna pay for itself twofold. And then at 10 years, when you've had it in the house for over 10 years, with all the money you've saved, with everything that all the problems that you've eliminated from possibly happening, you've literally saved yourself thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay? Now, if that moisture does build up in the attic, obviously what can happen to it? Mold. Right? Mold, mildew. When you look up in the attic, most attics you'll see a little bit of the blackening. That's not necessarily black mold, okay? You actually have to test it and put it in. But to identify with the homeowner, when you say, oh, you got some, looks like you got, see that black stuff in there? And if you've taken a picture, oh yeah, I see it. It's not necessarily black mold. Might not be stachybotrys, okay, because that's the really bad shit. But I don't know.
Matt, I'm getting pieces right here about
Oh,
31.
no.
Just making a
I got a
copy.
box.
So we don't do anything, we don't do any mold
I
abatement,
appreciate it, though.
okay?
Yeah.
That would be something they have to do on their own, but years ago, we used to be able to just throw a mold bomb in there. Okay, they can still go
I
online
did buy Sweet
and buy their old mold bomb.
Here or back in the
And that's
store,
what I
you have
typically
access to it from your phone,
have people do.
your computer.
Say, you know what, you can go online and
It's
get
got
the,
8 terabytes of
otherwise,
data.
you get a mold company in there,
It's accessible from
and what they're
outside.
gonna wanna do is they're gonna wanna pull all the insulation,
Your IP address, username.
okay? They're gonna wanna whitewash the entire inside, they're gonna, basically what they're gonna do is mold bomb,
Yours is lead flow,
okay?
email.
Because it's like a fogger, like a smoke bomb, right?
Issue
And it
with
hits all the nooks and crannies, and then they're gonna come in there and they're gonna do what's called a whitewash.
Well, you get all the issues.
Yeah, well, we got
If
sales.
you bring
going on,
a company
but
like
I-
that
I
into
get
your
the issue
home
that came, like,
to take
directly
care of
that
your
night in the
issues,
email.
if you ever go to sell the house, guess what you have to, disclose to the homeowner?
Look into it, I
or
just
next
noticed that
homeowner.
this morning.
Oh, I had mold
Creation.
here, I got fixed,
Directly to me, I'm like, what the fuck?
but that's like a car that's been underwater, right?
I brought my.
Okay, what happens to those? Everything can still go, oh, hey, the car works fine, it's cleaned up, it's been fixed, it's had new flooring put in,
Yeah.
but
Spring
it's still been underwater,
in.
okay?
Yep.
So it's just a fucked up mess. So,
Whenever you get a chance.
Don't-
let me know. I got
when you say that, don't recommend it, don't say this is how you do it.
I got 6.
I've heard in the past, you can go online and get mold bombs, I hear they work really good.
You wanna do it now?
If you run into that big issue, like I said, don't go promoting it, don't go telling people that's how you do it. There's people that'll say, don't even say mold,
It's in your name and.
because if you go in if you say mold and then they go in there and it's, so you have to,
Kinda angry,
it's
give
a-
them credit,
it's a touchy,
but then.
touchy subject, just like, where you were talking earlier about which
Oh, okay.
parents,
Lane
how
Jackson May first
they reprimanded you,
Okay, so he
talk
came
to
in,
the guys that were standing there,
he's like, oh, you
hey,
guys
we all
took
get
too
it,
long, this and
we're not
that.
calling
He
child
came in,
services, we're
trying
not
to do
doing
it
this,
back.
we're not
He
doing
said,
that.
"Get the work done," so I
But
apologize on
maybe
that.
there are guys
I'll get it
standing
done
there
right
that's
now.
25 or
Looking to get it
26
done in the
and,
spring now 'cause it's
you
so
know,
late, so
oh,
it's still a good
oh,
deal. He wants to get it done.
oh, it's the end of the world.
Dale actually
You know,
got the paper or do you still?
For you, I mean, obviously your brother was 7 years older,
I see through it back
so
over here.
you were kind of in a,
Okay.
you were just caught in the head of another generation,
It's not-
You said you got a couple kids, right? You ever smack my
I
ass?
mean, I sent.
Never touched them. Is there a reason in particular that you never did?
Together or whatever.
Because my parents did it to me.
Because your parents did it to you, okay? Myself personally, I never got it to the extreme that you did. But when my little 3-year-old, when I'm telling him no and he doesn't understand, he kept doing it, I'd smack his hand. I give him a little smack on the ass.
Alright, so that's.
When they got older, I never had to lay a fucking hand on them. Why? Because they knew if I got mad, that's what would happen.
Right.
They had more fear of what could happen, okay? And it's the same thing here. It's a very, very, very touchy subject when you start talking about it. I always, this is another one of my jokes, you know. You got mold in the attic. Ladies, you guys, you lose your mind. You don't want nothing to do with mold.
After his 3 days.
You want to get rid of it and eliminate it. Guys, we just want to make beer out of it. You know, makes beer? I don't know, what is that stuff? So you have to be careful with mold, but in the same aspect, you have to identify it if it's in their house, and you have to put that fear into them.
Right.
Now, we're not gonna do anything to eradicate it. In other words, we're not gonna come in, we're not gonna clean, we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna do that. However, what we can do, okay, is to properly ventilate your house.
Open another can of
If we
worms.
properly ventilate the house, we're getting rid of the moisture. Where does mold, mildew, fungus, all that stuff come from? It needs 3 things to grow, right? It needs air, which is all around. It needs a food source, and it needs water. If I eliminate the water, the mold will not continue to grow, it won't spread, it's not gonna do this, it's not gonna do that, it'll sit in your attic. The mold bombs, what they used to do, because it was like a fogger, it would attach itself everywhere. Basically what it did is it would kill the mold, and it would encapsulate it in the event there were any spores to continue from spreading. Okay. Again, because of all the regulations and everything with it today, we do nothing. Okay. We won't do the mold bombs, we won't do this, we won't do that, you know, and if the customer digs a little deep, well, what do I do to get rid of it? Well, I've heard, you know, and this is not my recommendation, I'm not telling you to do this, but I hear there's mold bombs that you can get, and supposedly they work relatively well.
Couldn't you say that, you know, it's happened to me, you know, I went online and I purchased mold bombs.
Well, but then you're kind of telling them that it's, you have to be careful telling them to use those and that it's okay, because otherwise it can come back on you. Well, my roofer said,
Right.
my roofer told me to do that. No, I didn't.
Right.
No, I didn't. All I said was I heard they work pretty good. Okay, so you have to be extremely, extremely careful when you're dealing with that. But the biggest thing is we'll take care of the issue by proper ventilation. If you choose to take another route to go ahead and try to kill it, you know, before the ventilation finally takes it over, well, then that's up to you.
Miss Turner.
I hear the mold bombs work pretty good. You can find them online. So yeah, it creates mold. Now, here's the biggest thing. This guy come out here and promised you a warranty, didn't he? And he's not gonna properly ventilate. There's not a shingle manufacturer out there that says that if you do not properly ventilate the house, I'll still continue to offer my warranty. Not that the warranties are any good, and that's why we were talking yesterday about warranties. What was one of the first things I talked about? Proper ventilation. And this is why, because these are all the problems that are associated with with a home that's not properly ventilated. Oh, well, my home's been this way for 30 years.
I get it.
Doesn't seem to be an issue.
Does she even
Does
pay
it?
the deposit?
How much longer will this last roof last?
We ate the permit.
You know, you got some, and that's why it's, again, important to get in the attic.
Because it was like half inch.
What kind of heat bills do you have? What kind of cooling costs do you incur? Okay, these are all directly related to the ventilation. And then,
Windows
you know,
were
just like
ordered,
it
but I
says,
haven't got any paperwork.
Yeah,
manufacturers.
that's actually,
They're
I
not
just
gonna
did that
cover.
yesterday.
Okay.
What manufacturers? Well, let's
Because-
look
and I
at
didn't
the
know how you wanna handle
top
it
6
because
that are
the-
sold here in
it's
Michigan.
Kitchen and bath, it's like a blowout, so the guy.
Not
was doing
one
that
of them
was popping
says,
the window for us.
We'll stand behind
So
the
it's
warranty,
like
it's not
Marvin
properly
did, so I
done.
held on to it.
So that guy that was promising you that big warranty, and then he's not
Right,
coming out here and
yeah.
properly
So
ventilating,
yeah, I got
you
that,
have a
with
warranty.
kitchens and baths, so I would just say,
Okay, okay.
but I wanted to give you guys a heads up, so
Not
if
me.
it does come in,
We know.
You know what it's about and everything else, I don't know, do you need the paperwork for it?
Don't shoot
No, I'll
messenger,
just
right?
put a note, I'll put a note in the system myself.
All right,
That, you're holding on, bathroom installer's gonna do window,
Now, there's
just
this,
to let you know when it comes
Cause
in.
it's a cutout, he already framed it all and everything else, so he's just gotta pop it in when he's doing the additional stuff. So, alright.
this is what they call a 550. Okay, this is a little thing they put in there so the guy can attach his,
LIIK.
bathroom vent,
Like,
Right.
kitchen plug, okay?
they don't have that.
That is completely wrong, do not ever do that for somebody. Okay, if we're gonna do something, we're gonna put a proper vent
Did
to
order
it
these, right?
Mhm.
out the
I
roof.
think I'm waiting on
Okay.
that color.
Because wouldn't that defeat the ventilation purpose?
It does.
Most from the microwave.
It does, it's not, you know, it's
And that's
not,
like-
well, and that's why sometimes you'll see these down lower and they're trying to use those as a vent.
Right.
Rather than do that, and I don't have a, it shows it on this.
Things that happen when I sit there and try to find stuff. Even I let Mark and learn how to do my.
Yeah, it's not even showing the bathroom down there. You know which one I'm talking, they have a little flapper on them. Okay, something else you may run into, it's typically not gonna be a problem. The best example I could give to you of where this happens, is on a porch. Right, you got the front porch, it goes right into the house, okay? And technically, it's the outside, it's an outside structure, it doesn't necessarily have to be
Not too
ventilated
bad.
for code, okay?
I'm just calling you back from their email.
If this was a living area though, and you'll see that, and then this goes up top, well geez, how do I vent
I
it?
forwarded my document.
Okay, do I put a bunch of these cans at the top?
My CFO to make sure.
Well, no, you have what's called a roof wall.
I will definitely get this inside.
And you can see here, and this, you're gonna wanna charge, that if you have to put some of this on there, it's gonna be $30 a foot, just like your edge vent. Simple reason is the guy's gotta cut this back. If you notice here, you got the
I
siding.
had your original
It's actually got, you gotta pull the siding off and go
and
behind the siding in order to properly ventilate it.
Or if it's
If there's
If
only
you need one I forwarded him, that's
few
fine. But if not.
areas where you would, like I said, a few times that you're ever even gonna run it. I mean, in my whole time of installing and everything else, if I've done that
Interested in, starting this part.
10 times,
Getting it all kind of all
you don't run into it very often, but if you do, you wanna be able to, obviously help the homeowner and properly ventilate their home. The only time, like I said, I would worry about that is if that was a living space.
The floor of the room or something.
Right, yeah, well, not even a floor room, I'm not even gonna worry about those. If it's an outside portion of the porch or something of that nature, I'm really not gonna worry too much about it,
Thank you, me too.
unless it is a living space. Now,
He told me it was white. I want something right in front of
talked about why, we talked about the different forms. Can we do that one?
Carl.
Okay.
This one here? Oh, this is, okay, so,
Install all
Oh, that's the
exhaust
one.
ventilation at the same
I
height.
didn't know if they turned it into.
he actually, Cordis was just talking about this one the other day. No, I haven't gotten anything on it, but he said he just sent him an email about the 495 repair. We
Okay.
can't do the installation until that's done.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know why it says that there's a CS.
Because there was.
It's
no
hot in there,
contract
I gotta do
written.
something, what's he doing? Back to my straw?
There's only a
He's
contract.
making
for
it bigger,
installation.
bigger, bigger,
Right.
bigger, bigger, bigger,
Still
bigger,
bigger
bigger.
than that.
And he's not changing anything.
Okay.
Now-
And then McGuire, M-A.
The height's within a common attic area. He's got one here, one here, one here, one down here, one down here, one over here, one over here, one over here, one over here, this one's higher. If you're putting it on the roof,
She got the stuff done by somebody else.
Doesn't know which is the intake
We
or,
had
it has no idea.
yeah.
chosen.
It's just like insulation, it doesn't know whether it's supposed to keep the heat out or the cool out.
All the rotted
With a
wood.
cooler.
when we finally got a hold of her.
So
I
if you're
said,
looking
"No,"
at a
and
hip
she said
roof-
pretty much, if you guys just eat my deposit,
And you're putting vents in,
because she had the roof and gutters done by somebody.
they have to
Okay.
stay
I just wanted, so we can get it closed out.
along the same vertical plane.
Alright, then.
Now,
just
typically,
cancel
you're
it out,
not gonna
okay,
wanna put-
and do, and then.
Put them on one side and then.
Just put
and
your
then
note
the
in
other
there,
as well.
whatever customer
Says
says
this
that
might
work
be
was
the,
already done by
you know,
the
here's their
company,
driveway,
just
this might be the
deposit,
front of their house.
and just put your note in there, whatever.
Number one, you
So I
can't see that
change
stuff.
it to
But-
CXL
Um,
in the name.
What ends up happening too,
Okay,
is
and
it may
then
want to
change-
exhaust out of here, but draw in
yeah, and
there.
then just put in the notes.
Right, to exhaust out of the next one.
Okay.
Okay,
Alright.
that will be good.
And that's the
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
reason, not only do you not put them on the
Perfect.
adjacent side, but that you make sure that they're all even, because the guy that puts these on, and he puts them, one here, maybe that one's down a little bit, and he's not putting them in that straight line, that's an exhaust, that's an intake, that's an exhaust, that's an intake. They have to be on the same vertical line. And obviously, the way you want is that you want the air to come in the bottom and exhaust out the top, okay? And that's what they're talking about here, it's gotta be all the same way. There only can be one type of exhaust vent, okay? You can't have multiple types. Holy shit. Let me take this real quick. Hello? Yeah. Not too bad, how you been? Which one? Okay. I can certainly give you a quote. I mean, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm actually at a company, but I can certainly come over and give you a quote on it. Okay. 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 Yeah, first of all, it depends on the city and what they require as far as their permits and everything. But yeah, I mean, typically, it depends on the city. It depends. I'm not sure what their codes, if they require that or not. So, yeah, it all depends on the city and where you're at but yeah, typical, you know, if there's no codes or anything for siding, yeah, typically what guys, you know, do is they put up the foam board and then you just basically side right over it, but man, that can cause so many issues. It keeps intact. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I didn't know there was a product out there like that. I mean, it would make more sense to encapsulate and hide the stuff than it does to tear it off and go through all that. But if that's needed, I have a guy that can do that. So, and he's relatively reasonable. I mean, unfortunately it adds a few grand to the siding job, but you know, it's done right, and there's no issues, you know, in the future either. So, the removal. Right, no, I gotcha. Right. No, that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, so. Yeah, I can check it out. It's gonna take me a while because I'm kind of busy right now, so. But, yeah, send it over and I'll check it out and see what I can find out. All right, not a problem. All right, bye. Okay. Now, install only one type of exhaust, okay? If, now I'm gonna go to a gable. So the guy wants to put a power fan in, okay? What if he's got can vents on the back? And he's got soffit vents. He's got soffit vents all the way through here. It's ventilated. Proper intake. Problem is it's not proper exhaust. When this fan turns on, is it gonna pull from the bottom or is it gonna pull from the vents right next to it?
Right next to it.
Okay. Same thing if this was ridge vent. Okay, if you got ridge vent and you got the can vents, which you'll see quite often actually. I thought I made a picture of that. These are all just examples of beat up roofs. There's one of the plane as well. But if you've got a ridge vent system and then you got the can vents, again, it's just gonna pull from the area of least resistance. Those can vents are right there. It's gonna wanna draw from there, not pulling from the bottom, you know, refreshing that whole roof system. Ideally, having the ventilation on the bottom and your exhaust on with the ridge vent on the top is the best possible way you can ventilate a home. We go into these ranch homes all the time, and I've literally seen some of my customers over the years cut their cooling costs in half just by putting on the ridge vent. Okay. When you have these, as they call them, static vents, well, I've got 4 of them all across my back. Isn't that enough? It may be. By the time you do the math and everything and it works out, that may be enough. Okay, however, how's that hot air supposed to move from rafter to rafter to rafter? Right? And finally out that hole. It doesn't. Okay? All it does is it clears out that one area. And so you get what's called pockets of hot air. Okay? And you're not completely ventilating that whole attic space. There's some applications where, you know, hey, you have no choice. You got a hip roof like this, and it calls for 36 feet of ridge vent, and this is only 18. Are we gonna put a ridge vent on there? Can't do it, folks, sorry.
Right.
You know, it's not up to code. So, mixing different types of ventilation, pick your exhaust. You can have different forms of intake, that's not gonna hurt nothing, that's just where the air draws in. Okay, but for exhaust, there can only be one. What are you blowing me up, babe? How's that little seminar?
Good.
Yeah. Oh, I hate those.
This was an older one.
Was it? Okay.
This was one where fucking Anthony, I think it was Anthony sold it, and then it was like we couldn't install the gutters because of the way the thing was done, and she needed to get some more work done.
Okay.
And then we couldn't do it. She didn't want to do it from us, and then basically we called her for the install, and she said, "No, I already got the work done. Fuck, keep my deposit." Fuck you guys.
Okay.
It was a $200 deposit. I think it's
Okay.
yeah.
So it's nothing.
She just canceled it. She's just putting in all the notes, so don't worry about that.
Okay. Now, install a balanced system of intake and exhaust. Sounds easy, right? Put some at the bottom and add some at the top. What about, okay, you're from the Shelby area, right? What about some of those castles they built out there? Where the house is a ranch, right? It's a 1,600-foot square ranch, and then they put all those fucking roofs on them with the peaks and the valleys and all the shit, and the attic space is truly bigger than the house itself. You know, because they have all those gables, those reverse gables going into it. How do you ventilate that? Okay? You just do the best you can. We can't perform miracles. You know, I remember getting in an argument with one of the inspectors out in Chesterfield, and it was a guy that I had worked with, you know, on plenty of occasion, and there was no, you know, we got along just fine. But I had done a house that had those reverse gables all over the front and then a couple in the back to where I couldn't put enough ventilation in the house to save its life. You know, and then he wanted me to put, you know, he said, well, I'll put a power vent. And I'm like, there's virtually 3 different attics here, so I gotta put 3 different power vents. Now the guy's gotta put, why did you guys pass this in inspection? Why did you guys allow this house to be built? Now you want me to try and rebuild this guy's fucking attic because you guys missed it 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that should fall on us. You know, I absolutely should. Because now you guys want, and then now you're gonna make the homeowner pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because of a house plan you approved.
Right.
With no regard for the ventilation whatsoever. That's not my fault. You're gonna try upgrading it, it'd be like bringing a car in, a 1970 car and trying to put fuel injection into it,
Right.
right? Without changing out the motor. It's just not gonna work. But yeah, anytime you can, you want a balanced system. Can it be over 50% on the intake? Yes. Versus the exhaust? Yeah. Okay. Are you gonna run into some houses? We go down into Roseville and East Point, and I'm sure you're familiar with the bungalow.
Oh, yeah.
There's not really anything we can do in there without major reconstruction. You know, because those people take those attics and they turn them into living space. Okay, so realistically, what you're looking at is a house like this, and then they go in and they build their portion upstairs. So what you got these cubbies here, okay? And then you've got, that's a little drastic, but typically it's only, some of them have access where you can put